Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about reviewing, discussing, and elaborating on the 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom 750. If you're new here, motorcycle content is what we do. We have some goofs and gaffes along the way. We like to sprinkle in some memes, keep it entertaining. If that sounds like something you might enjoy, consider hitting that subscribe button. And if by the end of the video, you enjoyed the content that you're viewing, consider hitting that like button. You don't have to, but it really helps. We'll talk about some specs, I'll get you an exhaust clip, I'll take you for a test ride, and then at the end of it all, we'll kind of elaborate, wrap it up, and talk about what makes this bike good and what makes it not so good. So let's dive into this motorcycle and let's start with some specs. Our brake at the front consists of a 296mm disc pinched between a 2-piston Nissan caliper, and that front brake is complemented in the rear by a 276mm disc. This is a significant upgrade over previous generation Shadows, which up until I believe about 2023 came with a 180mm drum brake. And while the Shadow isn't the pinnacle of performance, it was warranted to get modern day brakes put on it. And while the brakes aren't the pinnacle of performance, the Phantom is not the pinnacle of performance in itself. So the brakes that are on it are sufficient enough to provide ample stopping force when we need it. Suspension up in the front is just a conventional right way up fork with no adjustability. And in the rear, we find these dual rear shock setup for preload adjustability with about 3.6 inches of travel. Fuel capacity in our tank, according to Honda's website, says 3.9 gallons with a 0.9 gallon reserve. Reserve tanks make sense for carbureted motorcycles because you can flip your petcock to the reserve position, enabling the reserve to actually be what is a true reserve. However, on this motorcycle, it's fuel injected, so maybe someone in the comments could educate me further on why Honda felt the need to include a 0.9 reserve whenever it's already 3.9 gallons as is. I don't know. What I do know is that it gets about 56 miles per gallon according to Honda, and on a 3.9 gallon tank, if that's truly what it is, you're going to estimate your usable range to be between 180 to about 200 miles before you feel the need to fill up and start hunting down a gas station, because most of us don't run the tank completely empty. That's how you end up pushing it to a gas station. The curb weight on the Honda Shadow, as it sits here on the curb, quite literally, is 543 pounds. And that's about 7 pounds lighter than yo mama. Oh, 550 pound mom having mother. Phew, getting worked up out here. But in all seriousness, the 543-pound curb weight contributes heftily, no pun intended, to the Shadow's ability to feel stable out at speed. And when you feel stable, you feel confident. And if you feel confident, you're probably having a good time slinging a leg over a Honda Shadow Phantom, which makes it great for navigating through town or a weekend trip. We pair that 543-pound curb weight with a 25.8-inch seat height. Myself, I'm 6'1". I have a 32-inch inseam, and I'm about 185 pounds. For me to mount the Shadow is nothing. And as I lower myself into the saddle of the Phantom, you can see that my feet are both very comfortably planted on the ground. The rider triangle on this bike is incredibly relaxed. You can see immediately that my feet protrude out in front of me on the forward controls. The handlebars are at a nice angle right here where I can just reach out naturally and place my hands on them without much thought. And my back has a very slightly forward pull, but it's super subtle. And once you are actually moving, the force of the wind kind of holds you back and puts you in a nice upright position for all-day comfort in any scenario, making the Shadow a very attractive option for a wide variety of riders. All right, how about we have a listen to the sweet, sweet symphony of this little V-twin. And here's what that same V-twin sounds like with an aftermarket exhaust on it. Now that you've heard what it sounds like, let's go see what it rides like. Wait! Oh my God. Before you click past this part of the video, please consider watching this ad. These are the guys who make these possible. If you're thinking about a Honda Shadow of your own, please check out my friends at Big St. Charles Motorsports.
Big St. Charles Motorsports is your premier dealer for everything power sports related here in the Midwest. Located just 20 miles northwest of St. Louis in St. Charles, Missouri, Big St. Charles Motorsports easily has the most inventory and the most brands under one roof. You really will have a hard time finding a bigger selection than what Big St. Charles Motorsports offers. Whether it's the Apex Predator of the top-of-the-line road-going motorcycles, a big touring machine from someone like Indian Motorcycle, or just something in the off-road category from Gas, KTM, Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Can-Am, it doesn't matter. They've got it all under one roof. But it doesn't just stop at the machine. Their parts, apparel, and gear department is stellar. Whether you're looking at something from Shoei, Bell, Fox, Alpine Stars, the employees that work here are sure to get you steered into the right direction. They'll make sure to get you fitted into something so you can rep your favorite brand. Come down and visit them today. Located at 3830 West Clay Street, St. Charles, Missouri. Find them online at BigStCharlesMotorsports.com or give them a call directly at 636-946-6487. Big St. Charles Motorsports and Omnimoto are not affiliated in any other capacity outside of these test ride reviews. If I say something stupid, please don't blame Big St. Charles.
And of course, that is where we are now. As usual, we'll be in the Big St. Charles Harley-Davidson parking lot doing our preliminary parking lot manner testing. And we're also going to learn the motorcycle a little bit. We're going to figure out where the friction zone is at. We're going to figure out where the brakes like to bite at. We're going to experience how it feels to kick the tire over and lean the bike into a turn. Just kind of make ourselves overall familiar with the low speed attributes of this motorcycle. So we'll do what we usually do. We will ramp the speedo up to a nice 30 miles per hour, and we'll get a progressive pull on that front brake lever to see how they feel in the hand. You know, those are better than the R3 that I rode in my last video, and it's a heavier bike too. Even the rear brake. Let's just go rear brake only. A little bit of skid in there, so not a whole lot of movement in that rear brake lever before the rear tire locks up. Front brake, however, we can pull pretty hard on that without it locking up, as long as we stay progressive with it and don't just grab a fistful all at once. 30 and a combined stop. I mean, I know I said that the brakes weren't the most performance-oriented set, but they have ample stopping force for the intended purpose of our fabled Honda Shadow. One more time. Man, I mean, I'm jamming pretty hard on those, and they're bringing me to a screeching halt, just without the screeching. That was very effective. So far, the motor feels a little, you know, it's not underwhelming, it's just whelming. But here's where we do our 2 parking spot test. We're gonna make sure we're in gear. We're gonna find the friction zone. I'm gonna hang the back brake. I'm gonna add some throttle and try to cut this thing into a circle before that second white line right over there. So here we go. Kind of let the bike fall. And here we go. I've got to give credit to the Honda Shadow so far already. It's very easy to ride, and a 750 sounds big, but it's only making a meager 40 horsepower. And I think it's right at like 48 foot-pounds of torque. I forgot to mention that in the spec walk around, but I'm doing it now. I think it's a 50-degree, 750-ish cc V-twin. So obviously it's not a powerhouse, but is it enough to just get the job done with the 5-speed wide ratio transmission pairing? So far, it seems that way. But let's take it out on the road and get some actual real-life, real-world testing. The throttle responsiveness is pretty relaxed too. Even that initial takeoff on some bikes that can feel fairly jumpy, this bike handles it really well. Cruising 45 miles per hour. The Shadow is very easy going. I think I would maybe want my foot pegs out a little bit further with me being a slightly taller rider, but you could always get a set of crash bars and mount a set of highway foot pegs on them so you can really stretch out and turn this thing into a lazy boy. One thing that jumps out to me every time I throw a leg over a Shadow is the dinner table of a gas tank that they put on this thing. Someone at Honda HQ all those years ago really said, hey, make a fuel tank that we can put gas in. Here's a very basic shape. We hope this works and satisfies your need to put fuel somewhere on the bike. Here you go. And Honda rolled with it. And it works. It does force you to have a fairly wide spread on your knees though, so if you're someone who has hip flexor issues, you may find yourself a little discomforted at times on the Honda Shadow. on longer stints. I think peak torque is made around 3,500 RPM, but what we'll find is that we do not have a tachometer on the Honda Shadow, which I'm not the biggest fan of, don't really care for that. The Shadow continues to make other motorcycles ironically live in its shadow. It's not anything special. In fact, ooh, that was a nice wrench. Hold on. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Hold the phone. Do I have hazards on this thing? No? Okay, that's fine. Pause here for a moment. Let this traffic go by. Try not to get ourselves killed. Oh, maybe I could take the crosswalk. Ah, I thought it was going to be a nice wrench. An 18 and a 16, guaranteed for life. Yeah, I don't need this, but maybe someday I will. We'll just stuff that in the old pocket, hang on to that one. That'll go back in the tool bin at work. Okay, so as I was saying, the Honda Shadow, it kind of makes other motorcycles live in its shadow. Even though it's nothing special, it sells really well, because this is yet again another one of those motorcycles that isn't necessarily purpose-built super hardcore, but is purpose-built enough that it fits the mold for what a lot of beginner and, you know, somewhat seasoned riders are kind of looking for. And even though it's a 750, it has beginner levels of horsepower and torque that make it approachable and kind of a stand-in motorcycle that is going to allow you to grow with it and hold on to it for a little bit longer to extract the most value out of it during your ownership experience, however long it may be. And I think it's a somewhat fair value. It's a 750. It comes in under $10,000 at, I think it's $83.99 last I checked Honda's website. But for a competitive motorcycle, like let's say a Kawasaki Vulcan S, stacking up against this, the technology that the Shadow lacks. Not saying that the Vulcan is a technological masterpiece, but the Shadow, you know, the latest and greatest that we've gotten to this thing is LED turn signals. Appreciate you offering those to us, Honda. And we also got some updated control boxes that are fit and finished a little bit nicer than previous generations. Also got this new dash cluster here and the upgraded paint schemes along with an updated seat and that rear disc brake that was lacking for a very, very long time. And I know that sounds like a lot of features that Honda's brought to this motorcycle, but that's what KTM would call a CTG update, and or color, trim, and graphics. So they didn't necessarily update a lot of the motorcycle itself. They just updated the items around it to help with making it feel more modern, which aesthetically, this generation Shadow looks much more sleek and improved over previous generations. So definitely appreciate that. I feel like that was legitimately the least that Honda could do for us with the Honda Shadow. So yeah, overall, we really like the Shadow. Brings a lot of good things to the table. Wait, I wonder who that could be. Well, would you look at that? The ride is calling.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, so I'm an affiliate for Revzilla. That's where you can find a shirt like this, and also that protective chest piece I'm wearing right now. That's where you can find that also. There's links in the description below. Be sure you check them out. Appreciate you guys. Back to the video. Bye! So usually we would pull off in this little spot right here on this nice little flat stretch to test and see if perhaps the sport bikes that I normally ride would wheelie. But instead, we're going to take a different approach with the Honda Shadow. While we're sitting here, a couple things I want to touch on. You do have your turn signal indicator, though you can't really tell which one is on. It's just for both of them, so left and right, it does the same thing right here. You have your oil light. You have your temperature sensor light that's going to come on if you start overheating the engine. You have your check engine light. You have your high beam indicator, which I can't even tell it's on, but it is on. You have your low fuel light, and you have your neutral indicator light, which is the only one that appears to be visible during daylight hours, and it's just barely. If the sun is hitting it at the right angle, you kind of lose the light back there. So not super crazy about that, but anyway, let's see if the old Honda Shadow can get rowdy. Make sure there's no police officers behind us. Here we go. I think that perhaps the first gear is almost too wide to give me enough wheel speed to spin the back tire from, you know, just a slow speed stab. And that tire screeching that you just heard is a direct result of no slipper clutch. So as soon as you come out on the clutch and reconnect power from the clutch to the output shaft, you get immediate grab. Okay, we're gonna try one more time with a little shadow, see if we can get the tire to, you know, here we go. No. Maybe there is some kind of chance if we had a small wet spot on the ground and I rode the rear tire over that, got it a little wet beforehand, and then tried to break the back tire loose, we'd have some better luck. What up, Scoots? My man. Oh, what a guy. But hey, you know, that's another thing about the Shadow 750 that I just noticed. I did not even hesitate to lean back and come off the bars all the way like this and have confidence that the bike is going to stay in a straight line and stay planted. It does have a very nice exhaust note, but overall I think this engine is quite vanilla, if you will, kind of mellow, not the most aggressive V-twin, but again, it's only 40 horsepower, so that's not any surprise to me. If you want something a bit more rowdy out of a V-twin with kind of this low-slung classic muscular silhouette, check out an Indian Scout. Is that a paint chip? No. Okay, good. Oh, look, a Cybertruck. Oh, look, a green light, and I'm not paying attention. Whew. Just went over a couple of bumps and I noticed the bike's starting to do a little... So maybe the Shadow suffers from a little bit of pogo sticky suspension, but at least it's transferring the force somewhere and not straight into your spine. You know, kind of the neat thing about the Shadow, I guess, that it has going for it is, you know, you can grab a handful of throttle and it'll give you the sensation that a lot is happening when really not a lot is happening. Fairly smooth, quite a bit of vibration through the seat into my ish. What? But you know, it's a V-twin, it's not going to have perfect balance, so a little bit of vibration is kind of expected from me. One thing I also forgot to mention is the gearbox is a 5-speed. Here's a nice little highway test. We're going 75 miles per hour. We're just kind of cruising. If I want to open it up and accelerate a little bit, I'm 100% wide open on the throttle, creeping up into 85 miles per hour. Maybe if I tuck, 90 miles per hour. I would say the maximum top speed for a Honda Shadow is probably somewhere between 95 and 110 miles per hour, depending on the rider weight, the conditions that day, air pressure in your tires, and many, many, many other variables. But that's about all she's got, which is really all you need. So the Shadow is capable. And although there's not a single highway in the United States of America that gets above, I think 85 miles per hour is the fastest we have in the USA. The Shadow is capable of going faster, and you bought the whole bike, and sometimes you want to use the whole bike. So it's nice to know that you've got a little bit past 85. Alright, here we go. You know, this is kind of a new area over here, but I'm not going to go exploring today. They just put this road in. There's like an Amazon down there, something way in that direction. Look out for this kind of stuff, by the way, when you're riding. This is the stuff that causes mistakes because you're not paying attention. But if you see it in advance, you know that you can't lean as far because, yeah, there's less traction whenever there's debris in the road. So watch out for crap like that. That's what causes a lot of beginners to have spills early on in their riding career, because they're not thinking to look for that stuff. They're more so focused on just riding the bike competently, while forgetting to look for, again, this stuff right here. It's nasty, nasty stuff. Oh man, is this guy shooting radar? He sure is. Nice guy from the seams of it. He seemed like a cool player. He's just doing his job, man. But I've got a job to do as well, sir, and that's motorcycle journalism. Kind of. I didn't go to school for journalism. YouTube pays me a little bit here and there. Not really a job, it's a hobby, but I get paid to do it, so is it kind of a job? We'll just call it a bonus. Initially, when I started this channel, I had no idea I was going to make it to the point where I am now and be able to get paid. Ultimately, was that the goal? Absolutely. Am I super thankful to all of my subscribers for getting me to where I am? Again, absolutely. Couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to take a little bit of a detour here so that we can get our 0 to 60 readout. That police officer back there shooting radar kind of put a damper on that. What is this Nissan Sentra doing? It's always the Nissan driver, man. Oh, okay, I don't trust you. She's got a paper in her hand. She's reading a paper. Okay, so this should give us an opportunity to do a brief 0 to 60 test. Oh, that road that I told you guys about? They just put this road in. There's like an Amazon down there, something way in that direction. This is the other side of that road that connects that they just put in. Kind of neat, huh? You know, Little Shadow has got me kind of content. I don't think you'd ever need anything more than this, honestly. For just a middleweight cruiser that does the two-wheel thing, it's a really attractive option. Kind of hard to beat. Is my neutral light on? No. Now it is. All right, we're gonna do our best to get from 0 to 60 as quickly as possible. We're gonna have to be quick about this because I don't know what traffic is gonna creep up behind us. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Just kind of another one of those bikes that doesn't have the fastest 0 to 60 time ever. It's going to be faster than most mid-size sedans and family SUVs that you come across, but you're going to get absolutely dog-walked by most average sport bikes. But the trade-off is that you get to be more comfortable doing it, and I think that's pretty fair for the Shadow. Suspension on the Shadow, not great. Brakes, pretty good. Engine, fairly mild. Suspension, not great. Comfort, it's there. I like the comfort. All right, we're gonna head back to Big St. Charles now, get our final thoughts, opinions, and verdict on the Shadow 750. Before we do that, if you are looking for something that breathes really well and keeps you fairly protected, check out this Alpinestars Bionic Action V2 jacket at revzilla.com. You can also check out my gloves. These are the Alpinestars SMX Air V2s. A very nice summer glove. They breathe well. They've got good tactile feel all the way through them. If you like the helmet that's on my head, you can get one of these at rurock.com. For all 3 of these items that I'm wearing, you can find them in the description below. I am an affiliate for both Revzilla and Rurock. If you guys make a purchase, clicking on any one of those links down in the description, I might be financially compensated. And I'm required to tell you that. So if you do make a purchase, I appreciate your support. That's like the best way to support me because I don't have any like memberships or anything on my channel. So if you buy anything using those links in the description below, thank you, thank you, thank you. I get a small piece of the pie. So first gear goes all the way up to 38 miles per hour. We have now discovered that just before entering back into the Big St. Charles parking lot. Well, let's talk about what makes this bike a make or break. So first up, I gotta compliment the Shadow's ability to be easy to ride for both advanced riders who are looking for something that just kind of is a general purpose motorcycle for around town or hitting the highway that's somewhat practical and not too flashy but also not too terribly boring. Shadow 750 fits that mold pretty well. Could this be your beginner bike or your first bike? I would say 100% absolutely. Don't let that 750cc displacement number steer you away from a Shadow. It's very easy to handle and tame this little beast. If I sold one of these to a beginner motorcycle rider who's never gotten on two wheels before, so long as they were going to take the Motorcycle Safety Foundations course, I would be able to sleep at night because that's just how tame this machine is. It's pretty darn fuel efficient too, you know, upwards of close to 60 miles per gallon on an almost 4-gallon tank. That's pretty decent range. That's going to be, you know, effective for the old pocketbook versus your standard sedan or SUV or truck that you might be driving. Very cheap on insurance too. I think a Shadow for full coverage insurance for someone my age, which is 27, you would probably be paying somewhere around $30 a month for full coverage. And with such a lack of power, you know, you're going to have a hard time getting into trouble. Again, it's going to sound like you're going pretty fast because of the V-twin rumble and grumble, but ultimately it's just not doing a whole lot. It's just enough to where you're not really desiring too terribly much more. And if you were desiring much more, you know, the Rebel 1100 is just a few $1,000s more than one of these, which makes it more than worth the price tag with all the added tech that it comes with as well. So I would say, you know, price, punctuality, politeness, purpose, and its place amongst a wide variety of riders that this bike is tiered for make it a very attractive and a very good buy. On the other hand, the suspension is not the most forgiving. It's okay. It does what it needs to do as far as, you know, putting something between you and all the imperfections in the road surface below, but it's a little bouncy and pogo sticky. But if it was any stiffer, it might not feel right on this type of motorcycle. It is a cruiser after all. It's meant for the easy-going crowd, not, you know, high-flying performance horsepower. So that's one downside. Another downside is, yeah, it's a 750, but like I said with the good side of it, again, it is only 40 horsepower, so don't buy a Shadow 750 thinking you're getting 750 levels of power, because really you're getting about 400cc levels of power with 750cc levels of torque. With a very low red line, it's a very low compression engine. It's not super feisty at all. It's tame. It's calm. It cruises like it's supposed to do. But if you're someone who's seeking out something that's a little bit more feisty, the Shadow is certainly not it. It is very, very dulled down. Shadow Phantom particularly, you know, the more bobber styled one, has no passenger seat. There is a spot for passenger pegs and you can put a passenger seat on, but it does not come with one from the factory, so no passenger comfort for you there. Minimal wind protection. It does an okay job. I think the headlight kind of creates a little bit of a wind stream that flows over your head somewhat, but you do kind of get blasted in the face and the chest with wind. And overall, I think there's a few options out there that bring a little bit more value, power, and tech to the table than this kind of re-skinned yet still foundationally old Honda Shadow Phantom. And for all those reasons, I would say that, you know, this is probably a good buy. Overall, though, I really enjoyed my day today with the Shadow Phantom. Again, if you want to scoop one of these up for yourself, check out my guys at BigSt.CharlesMotorsports.com. You can purchase one with cash or a cashier's check, or you can secure some financing. Something like this, you're maybe talking $250 a month on the high side. But I think we're all done here. So let's go ahead and send it to the outro.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that video and making it this far in. Like I mentioned, I am an affiliate for Revzilla. I'm also an affiliate officially for Rurock. You like the chest piece I was wearing in that video, you like the gloves on my hands, or you like the helmet on my head, check some of the links in the description below. There's also some miscellaneous links in there to kind of help enhance your motorcycle ownership experience and riding experience. So check them out. If you guys have any questions, you can email me directly at omnimoto1@gmail.com. I'm happy to tell you anything that you want to know. And if I don't know the answer, I'll do my best to find someone who does. I have nothing more to add. I want to say thank you one more time for watching this video. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and please, ride safe.